Hi guys, so I want to start talking to you about panning, which is the stereo spread of instruments left and right in your mix. You probably know that already, but it also leads me on to talk about briefly to you about the 3D mixing. So when you mix a track, you want to be thinking about an actual 3D way of doing it. And what I mean by that is I'm going to put a picture up on the screen now to show you that you actually mix not just left and right, not just back to front like we've been doing in reverb, because as you know, reverb creates space and appears for things to go back in the mix. So that's front to back. Stereo is left to right, or panning, but you've also got up and down as well, as you can see from this picture. So the lower frequencies in your mix tend to reside at the bottom of your mix, and the higher frequencies tend to sit at the top of your mix, as you can see here. So I'll just be touching on that as we mix the track, but I'm not going to go into any detail as this is just a beginner's course. But it's just something for you to be aware of, and perhaps you weren't aware of before. So I'm going to continue with panning, which is obviously left to right. And I want to start with this stabby noise here. This one here. This one. Now there's several ways which we can pan this left and right. At the moment it's just down the middle and it's very, very boring. We need some stereo information in this mix, so this is a good place to start. And obviously I'm going to teach you some techniques on this instrument, but I'm not going to go through and do the whole lot. That would be extremely tedious for you. So I'll teach you one instrument and then we can apply that technique to all the other instruments that you're free to do within your mix. So as I mentioned before previously, we've got a pan random button here on the instrument itself. If I put that up, obviously you can hear that panning, stereo spread. So that's one way of doing it. As I've mentioned also before, we can come in and put auto pan on, which I quite like this technique, and you can play around with the rate and the width. The width is obviously how much it goes from left to right, and the rate is obviously the rate of the left and right spread. Well, you'll see what I mean if I play. So press sync. So a bit quicker on the spread. Quicker still. 1/8 of a bar. And if we go to 32, you can actually start hearing some effects. So there's some different options for you there, and you could drag it down to come after the delays and the reverbs. Let's just see what that sounds like. So as you can probably hear already, that's quite a bit more of an effect because it's coming on after the delays and the reverbs. So it's actually panning the whole thing around and not just the instrument. So let's play around some more. So you can do it without sync or with sync. So you can be a bit more precise if you want to be. And sync obviously means just syncs to the tempo, whatever your tempo is set to. Whole note, half note, quicker still. So lots of fluctuations in stereo spread. Here we start getting some effects, almost like choppy effects. There you go. You start using that if you want as an effect. And of course, if you go width 100, it's going to be even more. It's a bit too much width for me. That's a little bit too fast. Even that's a little bit too fast for me. I'm just going to go for 1/1, whole note. Okay, so you get the idea of doing that. There is just one final way you can actually use some stereo spread. Let's pretend we haven't got auto pan on, so I'll mute that for now. If you come into the ping pong delay plugin, you've got a spatial mix as well. So we're only on 50 at the moment. But we have to be on a section where the delay is on. So as you can see, the delay automation mix, we haven't got there yet. So if I just bring this along, wait till you've got the hand, then you can actually drag it along. So I've just dragged it along so where the delay mix is coming up. Let's just have a listen to that. Yeah, so you can hear there's lots of delay coming progressively upwards here. But you'll probably notice there's not a lot of stereo spread on those delays. So let's just show you what it's like if I put it up to 100. You've got a lot more spatial spread on that. But I'm going to go back to the auto pan technique because that's what I like. I think that's most effective. Just switch that on. So I like that technique the most because of the effect it gives. So let's just check it in the mix itself. It's just getting a little bit lost in the mix for sure. So let's just bring up the volume. Yeah, it's still getting a bit lost. So what I might do is actually just put it back there, see if that makes a difference before all the reverbs and delays. Incidentally, just to show you, I did actually come in and automate the cutoff frequency, so it's something I've got to be aware of. So I'll just show you, if you watch the high cutoff. See that moving? So it comes in. Just going to turn off my auto pan because it seems to be affecting the volume quite a bit. So I wanted this instrument to come in nice and gently with the cutoff. Nice and progressively. You can hear the high frequencies coming back in now. Yeah, so that's, the volume is nice at this stage here. It's just at the right level right now. So let's go back to this section here. This is what happens sometimes when you're mixing. You have to mess around with it to get it right. So let's go back to auto pan. Let's go back to where it was. Okay, so on this occasion it is affecting my signal far too much for my liking. Yeah, so it seems the auto pan is affecting the volume and the high frequencies a little bit, so let's just come in and just give it a bit of a boost on the volume. is affecting it quite a bit. So we're going to have to compensate for that. Take off, not EQ that high frequency quite so much. Now, as we know, I'm not worried about the volume change because I can sort that out with the volume automation. I'm now more concerned about the high frequency range. Okay, so we've compensated that by just doing a little bit of EQ, and what I was doing there, just in case you weren't following, once I put the auto pan on, which I liked for the reasons of stereo spread, that was the best technique to use, but it has affected the volume and the kind of mid to high frequencies, so I've just compensated for that a bit on the EQ. So a bit of a long-winded explanation there, and that wasn't what I was expecting to do, but this is what happens sometimes. So what I'm going to do is go and put some panning on the other instruments as well. And as you think I've explained to you before, I could have just come in and done a manual panning and chosen linked panner there and just draw in up down up down up down and done that all manually, but obviously that would have taken time. So I'm going to go ahead and start mixing the panning, and then we'll come on to the next session with some more automation of various things, and we'll continue to mix this track as we go, one step at a time. So see you on the next one, guys. Cheers.